can mean many things. Sometimes it means just what you might think in terms of young couples wanting to bring families into the world, but also for other people. If you have an idea or a concept or want to start a new business or a new project or a new job, this is the time. This is the fertile time for new beginnings. And there was a beautiful ceremony called jumping the fire together to pledge people to each other. For instance, jumping the broomstick is a common Beltane ceremony. And what that meant goes way back in time when two people could not necessarily afford a church ceremony, or perhaps they didn't really want a church ceremony, or before churches even exist, when we go back into Celtic rituals. Well, what they would do is the whole community would gather around with this fire ceremony, and they would hold a stick, a broomstick, and the couple together would jump over the broomstick. And that is called jumping the threshold, and that would mean that they're going from an old life to a new life. So that was actually a sacred ceremony. There was often some special foods that were used at this time of Beltane, and that would involve something called mead. Mead is made with honey. So you can actually make a honey cake and share it in a community as part of the ceremony. Mead was also called brew of the divine. And it's the oldest alcoholic drink, by the way, known to mankind. It was fermented, and it was sort of like a very bubbly fermented. I've tasted it because a lot of our herbalist friends make a lot of these old remedies and old recipes. So if you come to any of our herbal meetings, such as the American Herbalist Guild, you'll probably see some of those things and learn how to do them, or just get to taste it yourself. So what they tell you to do is arise at dawn and wash in the morning dew. That's one of the little rituals that says the woman who washes her face in the morning dew on Beltane will be beautiful, while the man who washes his hands will be skilled with knots and nets. Well, that's kind of sexist when we hear about that nowadays, isn't it? The women worrying about how their face looks, and men worrying about that they have enough skill to provide sustenance for the family. Do we still do that? Not sure. Anyway, that was the ancient tradition of Beltane. Certainly, if you live near water at all, which many people on Long Island do, either the ocean or lakes or streams, you can make a garland of spring flowers. And the spring flowers are up right now, like the marsh marigolds are all over the place, and I'm starting to see dandelions and the little purple ones that are sort of covering the forest floors, and also in your own lawn, many people have these little purple flowers, and those are periwinkle. And they're a beautiful purple. And one of the ways they were used ritualistically was to gather those purple flowers and put them under the mattress of your mate. And it was said to keep them faithful. So that's interesting. You could try it. They also happen to make a very nice tea. You can prepare a May basket by filling it with flowers and also projecting your energy of goodwill, and then give it to someone who is needy, such as an elderly person who doesn't get to go out, or someone who might not be well. Also, Beltane is considered a spirit night of the year when fairies can be seen. So this is something that was always taught. Of course, remember, they were outside making these fires, so can kind of envision them leaping through the flames or the shadows that are projected around the fire. And this was something that was often taught, that tonight was a night that the little people, such as the fairies and the elves and the good luck little people, were accessible. So you can make a wish as you make your bonfire, or even use a candle flame. You know, if you are someone who lives in a condo or a co-op and you really don't have access to making a fire, you can just use a candle, because a lot of these things can be done ritualistically, just as a symbol. It does not have to be expensive. Believe me, the ancient Druids and Celtics did not have, giant. In fact, many of them were people who lived in shacks. And like I said, they couldn't even afford to have a ceremony, so they jumped over a broomstick. But they paid attention to a lot of things. You can tie colored ribbons to your trees with blessings written on them. Red for love and passion, or you can use other colors depending on what kind of message you want to put out, like white for peace and harmony, green for good fortune and wealth, purple for spiritual growth, or yellow if you want to bring more joy. And, whatever meaning some color has to you, nobody's going to come over and actually grade you, right? But you can meditate on what needs healing in your life, and you'll know that you're part of an ancient ritual where these kinds of thoughts were focused on for not only hundreds, but thousands of years. Also, just about some of the herbs that are very common at this time, one of the best herbs is hawthorn. So if you have a tree which is a crabapple tree, crabapple trees are very, very similar to hawthorn. So that would be a tree that would be honored during Beltane and at this time of year. Also strawberries, which certainly we're starting to see, and oatmeal. Making oatmeal is very much linked to the coming of the new harvest of Beltane. Another herb are roses, and we're seeing our roses starting to come up. And lily of the valley, which is that adorable little flower that looks like a bell, and it's prolific throughout our woods here on Long Island. Also honeysuckle and birch trees. Rosemary, if you have any rosemary. By the way, rosemary comes back every year unless the winter's been particularly harsh. If you have almonds, you can use almonds for blessing this particular day. And jasmine is a scent that is associated with Beltane. So all of these things are something that were always used and can still be used now if you are interested in participating in any of these ancient rituals. By the way, you might just have none of the above, but you might have a shaker of oregano. Let's say you have a shaker of oregano. Well, you can take a candle and shake a little oregano on the candle and light the candle and just think about what new things do you want to honor, be thankful for, and bring into your life. So very, very easy ritual. Think about Beltane, and it doesn't interfere with any other religion that you're committed to. It's just tuning into some of the ancient human recognition of the turning of the wheel of life. So I want to thank you so much for joining us today right here on Herbally Yours. And it's produced at the studios of 90.3 WHPC, Nassau Community College, Garden City, New York. For further information, send us an email. We love to hear from you at whpc@ncc.edu. This is your host, Ellen Kamhi. You can find me at naturalnurse.com and all the adventures that we discussed on our show today. I'm inviting you to join us next week for another edition of Herbally Yours. Until then, stay healthy.